Welcome to another episode of Blacktop. I'm here as your boy LJ.
I'm Worlds.
I'm all day.
As we look at the Western Conference, right, round ones, Lakers took Portland in 5, right, 4-1 series. Now they're waiting to see if Houston will win or the next game will be against OKC for the next series. Houston right now is leading 3-2. In this series, I see Houston actually taking it next game. And then Utah is leading Denver in the series 3-2. That's going to probably be a tight one. I do see Utah taking it probably in 6. And the Clippers are leading Dallas, and I feel like this is Dallas's last night out. Last game with the Clippers because of the injuries that they're dealing with right now. So when we look at it, ultimately, I think the East is ready to move forward, right? The East, Milwaukee beat Orlando 4-1, which we probably expect. Miami swept Indiana, right? And Boston swept Philly and Toronto swept Brooklyn, which was pretty much we could have predicted that by a long shot. So right now we're waiting to see Milwaukee and Miami battle it out, and then we're also waiting to see Boston and Toronto battle it out. What's your thoughts on the Western Conference? Because that's where all the action is at right now. That's where we're probably going to see the most games being played for this playoff series. Playoff series, I think is the best way. And it looks like the Lakers are going to be going against Houston, and this is going to be interesting to spin.
Well, yeah, obviously Lakers, defeated Portland. It could be Houston or OKC. We got to play devil's advocate, but I think it's most likely going to be the Houston Rockets, which is going to be a fun matchup playoff series. But my takeaway for that Western Conference semifinals, listen, we know what we're going to get from LeBron James. We know what we're going to get from Anthony Davis. The Lakers, they need a third consistent scorer. And hello, knock on wood, Kyle Kuzma, where are you, bro? Listen, Kyle Kuzma last closeout game against the Trailblazers, 3 of 12 from the field, and only scored 18 points in 25 minutes of action. That's not going to get it done against a fast-paced Houston Rockets team that likes to play up and down the court, and they're going to go small ball. So Kyle Kuzma this postseason only averaged about 11.5 points per game, 37% from 3, 39% from the field. Their bigs are going to be able to dominate in the paint. Anthony Davis is going to go to work on PJ Tucker. Dwight's going to get some offensive rebounds. JaVale McGee is going to get some alley-oop dunks. But when Houston plays, small ball, they're going to get dominated in the paint, but that's when they like to run in transition. My key question is, since Houston is a very perimeter-oriented offense, can, outside of Anthony Davis, who can defend the guards on the threes, can Dwight Howard defend them? Nope. Can JaVale McGee defend those guards? Nope. So it's really going to put more onus and pressure on Anthony Davis to defend a James Harden, a Russell Westbrook, a PJ Tucker, even a Robert Covington of that likes. So I still think the Lakers are going to win in 6. It's going to be a tough matchup. But ultimately, I feel like their bigs are going to get tired. Not their bigs, excuse me. I feel like their guards are going to get tired, especially now when you just throw it in the paint. And you got Anthony Davis, who's 6'11", going up against a 6'5" PJ Tucker, barbecue chicken a la Shaquille O'Neal. I got you, Shaq. But yeah, I feel it's going to be a good series. Houston is going to push the Lakers. I think that Houston will still probably game 1. And then the Lakers will come back game 2, game 3 as well. Houston will tie the series up 2-2, and then the Lakers will just eventually pull away with the experience that LeBron James has. But Kyle Kuzma is the X factor for sure.
Well, I feel like the reason why Kyle is not the biggest issue right now to making them win is because Russell Westbrook is averaging the same amount JaVale McGee is averaging.
He only played one game, though, to give credit. He just came back.
Yeah, but I'm saying 7 points, really?
He just came back.
Yeah, but I don't expect 7 points from Russell Westbrook. I'm sorry. I don't expect 7 points. Ultimately, there's no way I expect those numbers from him. When he does, hopefully he can basically drop at least 15 to 20 going against the Lakers. Westbrook. Yeah.
Oh, he'll drop more than that. Westbrook will average about 20,
he's going to need to.
Yeah, he's going to.
But I'm going to tell you right now, if he's averaging that, I don't see the Lakers winning.
Really?
I don't see the Lakers winning. They don't have that team chemistry right now that I'm looking for from a team that would have to get past Houston, right? They don't really have it. Now, the interesting part that I see is this. They're doing well. Yes, they got it together their last few games that got them to push past Portland. But, last, 3 or 4 games. But at the end of the day, when you look at Houston, you're looking at a team, I think personally they have a very good team chemistry. And at the end of the day, James Harden is just, he's ridiculous right now. He's killing. He's averaging, 32 points for the playoff, each playoff game. So That's big. I feel like James Harden has something to prove, and I feel like he's going to make sure he proves it against the Lakers. Now, if they get past the Lakers, I don't foresee any other team. I don't foresee the Clippers losing to them. I think that's going to be a long series. I think that'll go 6. Because I feel like the Clippers will go to the conference finals with Houston or the Lakers, whoever it might be. But I feel like the Clippers will definitely be in the conference finals. And then most likely, I feel like Houston can do it. They can get past the Lakers, and they will actually be in the conference finals with the Clippers.
I'm going to have to. And first of all, I'll admit I was wrong because I picked the Trailblazers to beat the Lakers. Mm-hmm. And if the Blazers weren't injured, they would definitely have beaten the Lakers, first of all. They were just suffering from so many injuries. Like, literally, they lost so many players. But they put up a good fight. Shout out to Melo. But moving on with this series, I do see the Lakers pulling this through. And I'm not the biggest Lakers fan, but just being realistic, I do see them pull this through because you can't compare to Dwight Howard and Anthony Davis in the post. Like, there's no way around that. And it's not like the Houston, like the Rockets or like the Warriors or something like that. Like, Harden can shoot really well, but I'm not, they're going to let Westbrook shoot those threes, and I'm going to bet on the Lakers in that situation. So I do see Lakers, totally dominating them, inside the paint from the rebounding perspective. And Harden will just have to, completely play out of his mind for them to win. I will say this, though. The Lakers is going to have to fix their little wing and guard rotation because I'll tell you this much. Caruso got away with, guarding Lillard and stuff. He did a decent job with it. But he's not guarding Westbrook or Harden. He's going to get completely obliterated. You might think it's cute now, like, oh, he played good defense on Lillard. Okay, he's not getting away with that Harden and Westbrook. That's for one thing. He's going to get cooked. Same thing with all those other players. So they need to get more players. I don't know why J.R. Smith, Deion Waiters, they were almost non-existent in the first round. They need to get those guys more involved because if you're going to depend on Alex Caruso to guard those guys or even to try to match up to them, that's going to be a tough series.
Yeah. I feel like Alex Caruso is more just a body just to throw at them to kind of get them tired. But like you said, they're going to have to play Deion Waiters and J.R. Smith more because they're going to need help from their guards to go up against, Russell Westbrook and James Harden. And there's going to be a point in time when the game gets close. LeBron James has got to take the onus on himself. Be like, you know what? I'm checking Harden or I'm checking Westbrook because you can't have Anthony Davis guarding James Harden on the perimeter because as much as a great defender Anthony Davis is, and he is great, I believe he should have won Defensive Player of the Year. He is going to get cooked by James Harden, especially on the three-point line. That's just on his own. So LeBron's got to take the initiative. It's like, hey, listen, when the games get close, I got Harden or I got Westbrook. But especially with that, Frank Vogel, we got to see how his coaching comes into play because if I really look at how the Lakers play, it really is more of LeBron James coaching the team than Frank Vogel is. And it's interesting to see what defensive rotations does he have to kind of slow down Harden and Westbrook. Like he's talking about the bigs. Obviously, if they go big, they just throw the ball in the paint. Anthony Davis is going to go to work. Yeah. But there's going to be a problem on the defensive end just because you can't have AD going out and guarding the perimeters. Now, did they kind of go small? Anthony Davis is going to have to play the 5. Regardless, I feel like they kind of have to go with like a small ball lineup, just kind of match Houston's fast-paced offense. Maybe put Caldwell Pope at the 4 and put Anthony Davis at the 5, or maybe have like LeBron James play the 4 and Anthony Davis at the 5. Something of those likes of calibers. But we're gonna see what Frank Vogel has up his sleeve. Mike D'Antoni and Houston, they live by the 3. They shoot the 3, they live by the 3, but they die by the 3 as well. One couple of games, they'll shoot 50% from 3-point range, and a couple of games they shoot like 12% from 3. So they could get them into the game, and they could also shoot them out of the game as well. So interesting to see how that goes. But I just want to touch up on the Blazers real quick because we know they just got eliminated from a couple nights ago, last night by the Lakers. What is Portland's plan for the future? Just a side question I want to give to you guys because the West is going to be loaded next year. And is Portland going to look to rebuild? Because you got Golden State is going to be back healthy next year. The Clippers are still going to be in the fold, barring any major moves. Lakers are still going to be in the fold. They're still in championship hunt season as long as they have LeBron James on the roster. Houston is still going to be looking, they're in win-now mode. Dallas is coming up. They're going to be a team for years to come if they can get another superstar to pair alongside Luka and Porzingis. Porzingis. If Porzingis could stay healthy, he just tore his meniscus. And Minnesota, they just got the first number 1 overall pick in the draft. They're going to be a team to contend for the future if they could keep their core together. Denver is still a great young team with a good future. Where does that leave Portland? I just named 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 teams. I haven't forgot to mention Utah still in it. So that's all 8 teams. That are all possible playoff teams next year. Where does Portland? Is Portland going to be that team that's always fighting for the A spot? Do you think that they got to rebuild? Maybe just trade away and start all over? Because Melo said he wants to stay, but do you think it's time for them to trade Dame and get a couple of draft picks and just hit the reset button?
I don't think they need to reset. I think because think about this: who are you going to get that's going to be able to compete with the Lakers, Clippers, or Houston? Like, there's not many teams out there that's going to be able to compete with them. Whether right now, let's just say you get 2 good players, will you really still be able to get past the Lakers, Houston, or the Clippers? Probably not. Like, it's a difficult spot to be in. I don't think they need to rebuild because then that's going to set them back a year or 2. My opinion is they probably need a strong trade from one of those teams. They need to look for some trades out, that they can trade in.
Maybe like a CJ McCollum might have to be on the trading block, or Yusuf Nurkic.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
No.
Well, no. If you want a star, you got to trade a star.
Yeah, so CJ would be. I would definitely try to keep Lillard.
Lillard's untouchable.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
He's not doing it.
Well, nowadays you don't know with these teams. They trade the best player on the team, and you're like, what the hell? Like, so, but they definitely need. I would personally like to see, if you ask me, Kawhi leave Clippers, end up at Portland. That'll give them leverage. Kawhi leaving no Clippers. I love Kawhi.
Come on, man. He ain't leaving
I just feel like Kawhi could actually, no matter what team he's on, he can give him a ring. And if he does it with the Clippers, I'm sorry. He's the greatest player to be in all time. 3 different teams, multiple rings. Stop it, guys.
If LeBron does it, he'll be the greatest as well. 3 different teams, multiple rings.
Mm-hmm.
I just think we're just forgetting that.
He's chasing Kawhi Leonard.
Earlier. They had so many injuries. You just go through the list, like Rodney Hood. Rodney Hood, a lot of people forget Rodney Hood. He would be starting right now.
Yeah, I think he tore his Achilles.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
He would have been a humongous factor in this series because then you're not even thinking about, okay, Rodney Hood starts. We have Trevor Ariza and Carmelo off the bench. Okay, so we have that. And then we also have Zach Collins, who's a really good, promising young big man. And unfortunately, the Hassan Whiteside trade did not work out for him. Hassan Whiteside, and I don't blame Portland for that because, he got that huge contract for a reason when he was with Miami because he balled out for 1 season and he just disappeared after that. So that's unfortunate for them, and I don't see him going to be able to trade away that contract because Hassan Whiteside's contract is huge, and obviously he hasn't played up to it. So they're stuck with that. Honestly, the best move for them might have to be to trade a Nurkic or a Collins because now they kind of have like a surplus when Collins comes back. They're going to have a surplus of talented big men, so they might have to package either a Collins or a Nurkic for a.
You're gonna have to get a star in return for that.
Yeah,
they need a big time name.
But I don't think
who could they get that would actually be open to trading support.
I don't know. I mean, if you look at right now, the trade market is not really that good considering once the season and you're about to enter free agency, and the only big name is Anthony Davis, and he's most likely. I think he's going to stay with the Lakers.
Yeah, I highly doubt he.
But there's been talks about Chicago, him going to Chicago, play his hometown. But that's just another subject for a different day. But maybe they can get a Bradley Beal, but again, you might have to give up CJ McCollum because Bradley Beal's going to start if he gets traded.
I don't think it's worth it because you're taking away that chemistry.
Yeah, so I don't know. They're going to have to need like a Serge Ibaka type player.
Nah, but you also have to think like, do you want what do you need, right? They need like an active forward. Like they need somebody that's like active too. Like they need somebody that's like not. Of course, you can't get enough of LeBron James and Kawhi Leonard, but they need somebody very active, that's gonna be able to like be something next season. What quickly?
Nurkic was gonna be that before he got hurt. Nurkic was averaging, I believe, close to 20 points per game. So he was gonna be that third, option for Portland.
He would have been. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, he still kind of is. He's one of the most talented offensive in the game.
And he has rebounded, exceptionally well from
can't play no defense,
injury. But nobody on Portland can play defense.
It's like a running gun offense. That's it. Yeah, so that I also feel like the Clippers and Dallas, they would have won, but I think it would have been a much. It would have went a lot further in the sense instead of like basically, I feel like it would have been basically 3-3, and they would have had to fight it out in the last. Because if Dallas didn't have so many injuries going into these last few games, I feel like they would have been more competitive. But they have so many injuries, top players being injured, so that's something that the coaching staff is going to have to look at for next season. Because this potentially they could have been. I felt like Dallas, how they played in the playoffs, they stepped it up another notch, and I felt like they were ready to go to the conference finals. So I feel like next year the coaching staff has to look at that so this doesn't happen again, because they have a lot of players out right now. And then you have so many key players out. That's the problem. Like, it's not like you have regular bench players. You have key players out. Key players that are coming out at a time when you really need them. So, that's a tough spot for Dallas to be in.
Yeah, well, Dallas, there's more on just the players just need to stay healthy. I mean, Rick Carlisle, he's an exceptional coach. He won a championship with Dallas about, 9-10 years ago in 2011. If Porzingis didn't tear his meniscus, if he was still healthy, Luka Doncic has a messed up ankle. I think Hardaway too, and Dwight Powell, who's the center, who was a defensive anchor for them, tore his Achilles, so he's out as well.
Jalen,
and Jalen Brunson is not in the bubble, so there's a lot of injuries for Dallas. If they had all their players healthy, I could see Dallas potentially. That could have been one of the upsets in the Western Conference of them beating the Clippers, especially how they played the Clippers in Game 1.
Yeah.
And if Porzingis wasn't ejected, LA would have been down 2-0. We'll talk about that happened a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
But they come back, obviously, championship experience with Kawhi Leonard. I just feel like they just need to. They're obviously going to be behind Luka. He's the face of that franchise. My always preface that Dallas, they just need another star to actually be a threat in the Western Conference. They already got their main guy. They already got their second guy. Who on the market that you could get to pair alongside, Doncic on that backcourt? I mentioned names like Bradley Beal. Could they trade for him? They're probably going to have to package maybe, a couple draft picks. I'll say Seth Curry, Jalen Brunson, if that deal enticed Washington to move Bradley Beal, because I think Washington, they need to rebuild, because I don't know how John Wall is going to look because he coming off an Achilles injury. I feel like everybody in the NBA tearing their Achilles. Kevin Durant, Dwight Powell, Rodney Hood. But so we'll see where Bradley Beal is going to end up. I don't know. The West is just so tough. I mean,
it's like the West is. It's like the East is high school basketball.
Yeah,
the West is like
AAU. So I don't know.
But I also want to give credit, and I take pride in this because back in the draft a couple of years ago, people were all over DeAndre Ayton, and rightfully so. He's a great player, but nobody was giving Luka Doncic props. And
nobody saw this Luka.
I did.
Nobody saw that. I was like, whoa!
I wrote a piece on it. So if anyone wants to test me on that, I wrote a piece on how good he was going to be before because I saw him play internationally. I'm a big international guy, so I saw him play before that. So I knew how big he was going to be. So I like taking credit for that. But we don't give him enough credit. He is definitely going to be a top 5 player, if not already, in the league, in my opinion. He does.
What? I don't know. But go ahead.
Yeah, to me, he's going to be a
compete.
top 5 player.
That's tough.
And this is only his second. Mind you, this is only his second year.
Yeah.
So, and we're already seeing things that is just rare for a kid his age. Mm-hmm. And to me, I don't think they're different from Portland. When you say, oh, Dallas should trade for this, like, no, I think they just need time, honestly, because Portland, they have veterans. Lillard's getting older. McCollum's getting older. Obviously, Melo is a legit veteran now. Portland needs a star, like, now. They need help now. Dallas, they just need time. They just shouldn't, because what you shouldn't do is force, they're building on it because Porzingis is still very young. Doncic is obviously still very young. This time, honestly, just build on what you have. I don't think they should force it because when you force things, that's when we've seen it happen before, like the Brooklyn Nets and stuff. They salvaged their whole entire future for Paul Pierce and KG.
Yeah.
Look where that happened. So I just think the Mavericks, they just need time. I wouldn't rush that, but they have a very, very bright future.
But all the GMs, they don't like that word patience and time. If they see Luka's like, hold up, we got our guy. He went from averaging almost LeBron-esque numbers when LeBron was a rookie, 19 points a game. to now this year averaging almost a triple-double in his second year in the league. That's unheard of.
Yeah.
That is unheard of to take that big of a jump. And I'm not surprised if in his third year he'll be in the MVP conversation. So the Dallas Mavericks GM, he's like, hold on, we already got our guy. We were 7th seed in the Western Conference, a tough Western Conference. We could have beaten the Clippers if Porzingis didn't get ejected in game 1 and he had stayed healthy. And if we had Jalen Brunson, as you mentioned, and Dwight Powell didn't get hurt. That's what they're thinking of in the back of their mind. But like you said, I mean, they don't, that word patience with GM, once they see they got a franchise player, they're not going to wait. They're going to be, all right, we need to get another superstar to help out now. That's how they think.
At this point, they kind of have to build because Porzingis is going to be out for at least, a season maybe?
No, he told meniscus is probably like 4 months, so he should be back next year, depending on whenever the NBA starts.
It's going to be tough
season.
because, and I hate, one thing I hate about the NBA is that they try to categorize big players, say, oh, he's going to be susceptible to more injuries and stuff. I hate that talk, but with Porzingis, he suffered some crucial injuries so far, and it's going to be tough to see how he rebounds off of this one, honestly. It's going to be, we don't know.
Yeah. What do you guys want to talk about? So, where you got? So, what do you got? You said Lakers. No, you said next round. Lakers, Houston. You got Houston winning?
Yeah, I have Houston taking it. I think it'll go to 7.
And what about the Clippers against Dallas? You got. I think we all got
Clippers. Yeah, Clippers are gonna beat the Dallas because it's only the next game and then that's it.
Yeah.
Utah and Denver definitely. I feel like Utah's taking it next game. Then the question is, Clippers and Utah, and it's going to be the Clippers. I don't see Utah beating the Clippers.
Excuse me.
And that might be game. That might be a sweep.
Wow, a sweep?
Yeah, I think the Clippers. I think they're warming up, and I think by the time they go to the second, it wouldn't make sense for them not to play hard on 4, so they can get some breathing room going into the Lakers. You need that for them to be successful against against Houston. Sorry, but if they do go against the Lakers, then they need that breathing room against LeBron as well.
Well, I don't think it's going to be a sweep. Whoever faces the Clippers in the Western semis. I'm kind of surprised that Denver is down 3-2 against the Utah Jazz. Denver is probably the most talented team on paper with Michael Porter Jr. They got Jokic, Jamal Murray this man is a star in the making. Oh my Lord, this guy's. Whew. That brother's gonna be serious, and Denver just got a lot of talent. And don't sleep on Bol. You give him years to develop. Mm-hmm. Denver's got a lot of talent on that team, and that's a good problem to have as a coach. When you have too much talent, he's like, all right, I gotta find minutes for these guys. And don't forget, I haven't seen much from Gary Neal Harris, I believe his last name, Gary Harris. So I'm surprised that Denver is down to a lesser team on paper to Utah, but I guess that kind of goes back to coaching. Maybe they weren't mentally prepared. Michael Porter's shown that he has potential to be a legit star in this league for years to come. If he could stay healthy, that back is questionable that he suffered when he was in Missouri. But Denver, man, I'm surprised that they're down. I can see Denver coming back, but again, Game 6, I got to give it to Utah. I feel Utah will put up a fight if they do advance against the Clippers. I'll give it 5. I'll feel like the first game will be tough, and then the first 3 games will be tough, and then the Clippers' talent would just overshadow what Utah presents. I feel like just Kawhi Leonard would just take over. We're finally starting to see playoff P, as everyone used to call him, pandemic P, because he's averaging 12 points a game against Dallas. He hasn't shown up. But again, give credit. These players, man, when we look at professional athletes, they're just like us, but they're just on national television in the bright spotlight. Paul George said that he's, homesick. A lot of these players are homesick. They're missing their families. When they go and you play games and you go right back to your hotel room, you go and eat, it's not like you're living your natural everyday life. Like, everyone was like, oh, but what, they're quarantined. It's like, no, it's not the same thing. Like, when you were quarantined, you could still go out. Most of them were still going out. They had access and resources to things to work out. But when they're in Orlando, you go to the game, you go back to your hotel, and you just sit in your hotel room. They're probably FaceTiming their family members, but it's not the same. So maybe after what happened with the Black Lives Matter that we talked about in the previous segment, maybe that kind of got the players the rest that they needed since the 2 games that were postponed. Maybe we'll see what Paul George brings to the table. He might have needed that rest. Same thing with every other player who was, battling the homesickness. So we'll see how that goes. But I got the Clippers beating Utah. I'll give them 5 games because I feel like their talent, Clipper talent, just overall, man. And Doc Rivers, a lot of people talk about how great of a coach he is. I feel like he has a window to win these next 2 years because you had a chance with Lob City, Chris Paul, DeAndre Jordan, Blake Griffin, Jamal Crawford, JJ Redick, and you blew it. And now you got Kawhi Leonard, already a top 3 player, and you got Paul George, a top 10, top 15 player. These next 2-3 years is going to decide whether Doc Rivers is going to continue coaching or not.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, and that's not to discredit Doc Rivers because he's one of the greatest coaches of all time. It's just, as time changes, sometimes you kind of get out of date with how the NBA adapts to certain things. But I definitely agree with that. I definitely think if you can't win with Kawhi, then you're probably out of there.